arguments have no validity.
To argue
there isn't a West Road out.
Genocide than the Nazi genocide.
Hamas. There's just none.
Well, debate on this, I'm joined by the journalist and author of The Racket, Matt Kennard, former IDF spokesperson, Jonathan Conricus, US defense lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, and the host of the Katie Halper Show and a Jew for a ceasefire now, Katie Halper. Well, welcome to all of you. Let me start with you, if I may, Alan Dershowitz. Just from a legal point of view, a lot of people are making very, bold and definitive statements about what this ICC ruling means. But given that the United States and Israel do not recognize the court, does it actually have any meaningful impact other than if Netanyahu and Gallant go to one of the countries that does recognize it, they may get arrested?
Before Alan speaks, I think it's only right and fair that the viewers who are watching this video know that Alan was that guy who was directly linked with Epstein. Not only was he linked, but he was there at the house with his trousers and his shorts down having a massage. So before Alan speaks and everything that he has to even say, I think people need to understand the credibility of this man.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having that reporteur on. She manifests and personifies everything that's wrong with the United Nations. She is totally biased. She can't see anything except through the prism of her anti-Israel bias. But you had her on for half an hour. And so I challenge you to put her on and me on at the same time. Let us have a debate. She said so many things that were
Well, we're now debating what she said. So that's what you're here for. We're debating what she said precisely for that reason.
Yeah. And I want to make a point. I recently published a pamphlet, 1 million copies going to college students.
Nobody cares about your book, man. Nobody cares.
Students all over the world, in which I refute each of the things she said. It's called The 10 Big Anti-Israel Lies and How to Refute Them. So I think that, Piers, you have an obligation to your viewers to allow me or others to come on and have an equivalent amount of time to refute everything she said.
Alan,
now let me go to your
question. Alan, you are on precisely for that reason. And we have a lot of time to debate this.
But I don't. Okay, I hope we have a lot of time because I have to answer all of the things she said.
Well, if you look, I love you, Alan. But if you just actually answer my question, we've just eaten up 4 minutes.
Come on, Piers. Of all the people that you could possibly love, you'd want to love this guy, Alan, who was directly linked with Epstein, with his trousers and his shorts down, having a massage. Come on, Piers. That's just disappointing.
It's talking about whether you're going to have enough time.
I want to, please, thank you. That's a good point. I want to get to the point. What this reporter said would mean that the United States presidents would be arrested as well, because everything she said Israel has done in terms of responding to the kind of October 7th attack, the United States did after 9/11. She would argue that after 9/11, the United States had no right to go after the Taliban, no right to go into Afghanistan, no right to go into Iraq. So the implications of what she says for the United States are very grave, which is why President Biden and why virtually all Americans agree that the International Criminal Court should not be allowed to do these kinds of arrest warrants. I've now put together a group of American lawyers headed.
Whether this guy agrees or not, whether the US agrees or not is irrelevant. The ICC have issued the arrest warrant, and as it stands, nobody can stop it. So you can disagree with it as much as you want. The ICC have issued the arrest warrant, and it stands.
By 2 former attorneys general, solicitor general, major academics who will stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel against this unlawful attack on Israel. Remember, too, that the International Criminal Court has as part of its jurisdictional mandate complementarity, which means that if you go after people from a country that has a legitimate legal system, and remember, Israel has a system that is so good that it put its former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert in prison to be guarded by an Arab guard, which enables this. Okay. They have no jurisdiction.
Okay, but look, you're a lawyer. Right, you've been a very high-profile lawyer in America for a very long time. What if you're wrong? One of my big problems with Israel and the IDF is they haven't let journalists go in and verify anything that they're doing. right? It's still almost impossible for journalists to get on the ground over in Gaza, right? So we have no real independent idea of what they've been up to. What if you're just wrong, Alan? What if actually war crimes have been committed on quite a wholesale basis? You seem to be absolutely certain that there's no war crime that's been committed. But how can you be certain? No one's been allowed to go in there and see what's been going on.
You can be certain by just looking at the statistics that are issued by Hamas themselves.
Okay, but look, I'm going to move to the other side.
They should allow journalists in.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Well, let's agree on that.
You and I go to Israel together, and let's look at what happened. I agree with you. There should be more visibility and more transparency, and I welcome a visit with you. I offered that to the head of the
I think that's nonsense. I mean, I do agree partially regarding the journalists, and more journalists should be allowed to document what's happening in Palestine, and that I do agree with. But the evidence is substantial. The videos are substantial. The pictures are substantial. They can do whatever visit between them as much as they want, but the videos are substantial. We've seen the videos of children being shot in the head. We've seen the video of that man who's burning alive. We've seen videos of skyscrapers falling like they're nothing. The evidence is substantial, and I partially agree that more of it needs to be documented, but at the same time it's total nonsense that they disregard everything else that's been posted regarding the Palestine-Israel issue.
Prosecutor staff, and they turned it down.
Okay.
They refused to go to Israel.
Let me bring in the other panelists.
They refused to go to Gaza.
Okay. No, on that we agree. I think it's outrageous that the media have been banned from going in. And, of course, when you don't let people in, it makes it look like you've got something to hide. Matt Kennon, let me come to you. Look, that's the case for Israel. Alan makes no pretense that he's obviously completely on that side of the fence on this debate. Where do you sit with this?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, listening to Alan, it's like the ravings of a madman. We're 14 months into a genocide, which has been documented, the most documented genocide in history.
Documented.
We have the ICC asking for
more than Nazi Germany. Wait a minute, more than Nazi Germany, the most documented genocide in history. More than the murder of 6 million
Documented.
I didn't see it. I didn't say the amount of people.
Wait a minute. What are you doing on television if you think that this is a greater genocide, documented genocide, than the Nazi Holocaust,
that wasn't documented as it was happening in the same way. That wasn't documented in the same way while it was happening.
Nobody should listen. Nobody should listen to a word you're saying.
You only can speak over people because your arguments have no validity.
To argue
there isn't a West Front
worse genocide than the Nazi genocide. Shame on you.
Shame on you for defending a genocide and using the memory of the people who died in the Holocaust to justify that genocide. It's disgusting. And I had family who died in the Holocaust. I find it disgusting that people like you weaponize anti-Semitism and weaponize Jewish suffering to justify another genocide which is happening now. But let me answer the question. If you weren't so rude, maybe we could get somewhere. But I think partly the reason you argue like this is because you know you have no valid points. Let me go back to the issue at hand. The genocide is the most documented genocide in history. We've been watching on our phones for 14 months. Just be quiet for a minute. Do you know how to do that? I didn't interrupt you.
No,
behave.
You can't make
behave
those
like a normal
kinds of
person.
Statements on national television.
Let him at least explain the point he's making.
Do that. Sorry.
Alan, he's talking about the use of mobile phones. Clearly, they didn't exist in World War II.
Exactly.
So let him make his point in totality. Then we can query its validity.
The Nazis themselves.
But Alan, let him finish his point.
Okay, so the Lancet, an independent medical journal, recently published a piece that claimed that 186,000 people have been killed in Gaza. 70% of those women and children. You're talking about a genocide. And to be honest with you, we have the evidences in. Yoav Gallant, one of the ministers, or the defense minister that's now sacked, that is one of the recipients of an arrest warrant from the ICC, he went on TV early in the genocide and he said, we are dealing with human animals and we will withdraw all water, food and electricity from 2.3 million people, half of them children. Let me finish. That is genocidal rhetoric, and they carried it out. They've been launching an extermination campaign in northern Gaza, in Jabalia camp, wiping out whole scores of people. There's been massacres every day. 100 people often die every single day.
Alan's
It's
face
clear
is
to the
just
whole
pissing
world.
me
You
off.
are in the minority and the walls are closing in. The walls are closing in. 125 countries, if Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant, who are wanted war criminals, step in, they will be arrested. And thankfully, the ICC saved the reputation of international law, because one of the disgraceful things about the ICC arrest warrants is it took so long. The whole world has been watching this. We all know what's going on. You are the minority. The whole world is appalled by what we are supporting. Can I make one more point? Sorry.
Quickly, yeah.
One thing you said was correct. This is not just Israeli war criminals we're talking about. We're talking about war criminals in London and Washington too. I'm in London now. I want to talk about the participation, not complicity, participation of my own government.
And do you agree that Palestinians have committed war crimes too in the past?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, but the point about the ICC arrest warrants, which is why Alan Dershowitz is having a fit, is because the ICC has always been used against official enemies. It's been a tool of imperialism. And for the first time, we are seeing justice done for Western war criminals and their allies. Can I just make one more point? You, Piers Morgan, were very, very good in 2003. You made the Daily Mirror into something we could be proud of in the British society because of your opposition to the war in Iraq. That Bush and Blair should also have been had arrest warrants for that illegal invasion, which killed up to 1 million people and destroyed a whole country. So we are in new territory in this.
Well, we are. Look, the difference I would make, people have asked me about that before. I did lead the media campaign in this country against the Iraq War, but because the Iraq War was enacted as a revenge for something that Iraq had nothing to do with. And I just thought that was completely outrageous and should never have happened, which is now really what the perceived wisdom about that war is. So they're two different things.
That this is a war against the United States.
Hang on, Alan. Let me bring in Jonathan, who's been waiting patiently. Jonathan, you're a former IDF spokesperson. I've had you on the show many times. Do you mind if I call you spokesman, by the way? Because I can't stand all this person crap. So I'm going to call you spokesman, if that's all right.
Piers,
you identify as a man, do you? I mean, I have to check that. I think you look like a man to me, Jonathan.
In this day and age, we do have to check. But yes, I'm comfortable being a
spokesman.
Man and he. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes,
More like a spokeswoman to me.
Whatever you think of this decision by the ICC, it is, as Matt just said, it's a highly significant moment that they have chosen to do this. Do you accept that?
Yeah, I think it is, and I think it's sad, and I think that terror supporters and Israel haters all over the world, they're having their moment of joy and enjoying the sun and enjoying seeing Israel suffering. They're enjoying to seeing this tremendous travesty, this injustice, this perversion of the international judicial system by the hands of a very suspicious and I would say controversial prosecutor who I don't know what his motives are, but I don't think that his motives are correct and clean motives. And I think that the process has been a totally flawed one. I think that all of the allegations are based on false and partial information. And I think that there is substantial proof, credible proof, even verified by non-Israeli sources that totally contradict all of the allegations.
But that's the problem again, Jonathan. Hang on.
Just this point.
But hang on. The problem is, you say that. Again, we come back to the media being banned from going in there. If you don't let the media in, then I'm afraid as a journalist, I'm like, what are they hiding?
And we've had this conversation in the past, Piers, and I said that the same thing that I'm going to say to you now, that I think that you have a point, and I've recommended for the IDF and the Israeli government to allow more media in.
But there's a reason they're not doing it.
Without that,
I agree.
Well, I'm sure that there are reasons. A, that it's messy. B, that it's quite a logistical responsibility.
Sorry, but that doesn't apply to other war zones. That didn't apply in Iraq. It didn't apply in Afghanistan. It hasn't applied in any modern war zone that I can think of. The IDF has completely controlled this whole war in Gaza. And by not letting the media in, I'm afraid the longer it goes on, where the IDF don't let media in from around the world to actually verify what they claim is happening there, then the more that people are going to think there is no smoke without fire. And when you get the ICC now launching these charges, they're going to put those two things together, and Israel is going to be suffering as it is. So my question again, as someone who represented the IDF, is it is an act of self-harm unless they are literally covering up war crimes.
Can I just add one thing quickly?
Piers,
They've killed
let's not get
188
confused
Palestinian
with it.
journalists in
They have
Gaza.
killed a lot of
So
Palestinians.
that is part of the same.
Why are you
That's part of the same reason.
Why are
They're
you
covering up the
talking?
genocide.
Why are you
That's why they won't let them
talking?
in. That's why they
Why
kill
are
them.
I'll
you
bring you back in.
talking?
Okay,
You
well,
weren't
that's an important point.
interrupted.
And if
You
viewers are
weren't
hang on, if
interrupted.
viewers are wondering where Katie's gone, we've lost the connection. We're getting get her back. So it is two people from both
Right.
sides. We're not trying to overload against Matt here, but Matt, until Katie's back, I'll come back to you after
Can
John.
you just ask him to defend how 188
Yeah,
journalists?
Well, it is
Please
certainly
don't
true. No,
interrupt.
it's certainly true and
Please
relevant.
do not interrupt,
It's relevant to
whoever
that.
you are.
Yeah, but Jonathan, it's relevant to the media debate part of this. That nearly
Well, if
200
I could just
Palestinians.
answer the question.
I don't even
Hang on,
know where Jonathan's on this
that
debate.
point, I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
so-
on the media point, nearly 200 Palestinian
Yeah,
journalists
we-
have been killed.
Targeted and killed.
Oh, let's
Targeted
speak
and killed.
about so-called Palestinian journalists. Let's speak about the outrage of international journalists and international media when it comes to so-called Palestinian journalists. Let's speak about the cooperation, the intense and systemic cooperation between so-called Palestinian photo and otherwise journalists and Hamas. Let's speak about the ties between them. Let's speak about how they have been working for Hamas, providing them with either information or being on their payroll or being silenced by...
I think whatever Jonathan says in regards to coalition, working together, interactions with Hamas and so on and so forth, there's no justification for targeting and killing journalists.
by them or being told by Hamas what to say and what to do for years. I know this for a fact because I've seen it happen in real time, where international stringers
no
or
excuse.
Palestinians that have been
No
working
excuse.
for international media organizations in Gaza, instead of doing their job of reporting about the horrible war crimes that Hamas has been perpetrating, of hiding behind civilians, of using civilians as human shields, of firing rockets from within densely populated civilian areas, or digging tunnels underneath houses, or using mosques or UN facilities. All of this, by the way, documented and clear, but it hasn't been reported because Palestinian media hasn't been allowed to report it.
Hang on,
Why
Jonathan,
not? Because Hamas has been stifling
hang
that.
on. It also hasn't been reported because the IDF won't let international media in. So I'm afraid it's not as simple
that's
as
not
saying
correct,
Palestinians
Piers.
won't
That's
report
not correct. No,
I can go in
Piers,
tomorrow,
that
can
isn't
I?
correct.
Can I go in tomorrow?
No,
No, I can't.
First of all,
I can't.
yes, I would personally take you in, but Piers, even though I'm no longer in the unit, I would make sure that you would be able to go in and tour as much as you want.
You'll let me go
being
anywhere I
Piers
want in
Morgan,
Gaza, will you?
I would put whatever ability I have and whatever influence I have remaining in the IDF on making sure that you would get wherever you wanted
How many
to go in
international
Gaza and speak
journalists?
to whoever you wanted to.
But how many international journalists? And I know many of them. How many of them are currently in Gaza who want to be?
I don't know how many are in Gaza, but I'll tell you
I can
that's
tell
not
you.
enough.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
None.
I tell
None
you.
of them are.
Well,
Have you read a report live from
there's
a
reason-
Western journalist in Gaza? No, they're not allowed in.
You can,
Can I add
and
a
many
point to
have.
that?
Many have done stories. Many have done stories from inside Gaza. Many have reported. Many have
The
been
only people who've done a
embedded
report
with
have been
Israeli
literally with the IDF at all times. In other words, a completely
Not
controlled
only, not at all,
environment.
not at all.
Can I
There
just
has
come
been
back on? Do you
CNN
support then the
Can I
targeted
add-
assassination
can I
of
add-
188 Palestinian journalists? Do you support that? Because it sounds
Well, we
like
don't.
you do.
Well, hang on.
He just
Yeah,
said.
but Matt,
Okay, but Matt, to be clear, we don't know they were
Targeted
deliberately targeted.
assassination
Well,
of
we do.
anybody.
There is
We
clear,
do
there is
actually.
clear, there is
We do.
They
clear
have not been
suggestive
targeted.
evidence that some
The other day,
They
the
haven't
IDF
been
put up a
targeted, so
wanted
it's very
poster for journalists in northern Gaza saying they were all affiliated with Hamas, basically echoing the same rhetoric, which is genocidal rhetoric and rhetoric which gets journalists killed. And you've basically. So
You
I
use
wanted
the
to
word
ask you: Do
genocide
you support?
like it's a
No.
sandwich.
Okay, well,
You use
I'll
it
ask the
like
question.
it
You ask the
doesn't
question,
have
does he
any
support that?
meaning.
Because it's important.
I will come back to that. We've been rejoined by Katie. Kate, I'm sorry we lost you there. We had a technical failure. You're back. I'm pleased to see. Katie, what do you want to say about this? Where are we? A year and a month into this war. Passions.
Well, I think that the claim that any and all criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic is a total obvious weaponization of anti-Semitism. It's pathetic. It's dangerous. It
Nobody ever
harms Jews
says
like
that.
me.
Nobody ever
Excuse
says
me,
that.
Alan. You always interrupt people because you're a bully. Please be quiet.
Never say
And what
that.
I want to ask you, Alan, is Theodore Meron an anti-Semite? The Holocaust survivor who was on the committee advising the arrest warrants, is he an anti-Semite? Who used to be an ambassador for
course not.
Israel? Okay, so he's
Good point.
Of course not.
He's
And
wrong.
I've never
He
said that.
advised
You're
the arrest
making it
warrant.
up.
He's wrong when he advised
you
the
can
arrest
be
warrant.
wrong without
Okay, so he's not
being an
anti-Semite,
anti-Semite.
wrong.
He's wrong.
Okay.
He's wrong,
All
and
right.
he's not an anti-Semite.
Okay.
Please
Okay.
use logic. Don't just use
Oh my God,
this
you're
kind
so
of nonsense.
condescending and you're so disingenuous and you weaponize anti-Semitism all the time. So let me just finish. I'm going to finish. Okay. So the other thing is that, of course, you don't want to hear that Israel's committing war crimes. And you bring up the fact that under the ICC arrest warrants, by that logic, the U.S. could be tried for committing war crimes. Well, guess what? They should be. Because of course they committed war crimes. Of course they committed war crimes.
Doesn't matter where you are or who you are.
So
This
I don't
is
know
an
why you
attack
brought that
against
up
America.
as if that's disqualifying. Yeah.
No, it's not an attack against America. It's to make sure Western leaders are held to the same standards that we hold other leaders to.
Yes.
And you hate that. Because the whole international
How
legal
about
system is
Iran?
based on the fact that you
How
can
about
go abroad
Iran?
and do
Has
what you
anybody-
want, but the people who are official enemies
Don't all
can't.
talk over each other because nobody can hear
But
you.
that is the simple reason. There's no other
How
reason.
about
Please don't talk over each other because if you do, sorry, time out. If everybody talks over each other, no one can
All right,
hear
can I
a word
finish
anyone
what
is
I'm
saying.
saying?
So, Katie, finish your point,
Yeah.
then I'll go to
All right, I will.
Alan. Thank you.
Okay. But also, Alan's numbers about civilians, and I apologize if you already covered this when I was disconnected, but his numbers about civilians are totally made up. There's no evidence of this. 90% of the victims of Israel's crimes against humanity have been women and children. And Jonathan, you are shaking your head, but you should be upset. I would be upset if I were you because you've been implicated in war crimes yourself. You lied about Al-Shifa Hospital. You claimed it was a Hamas stronghold. You were debunked by the BBC, Fox News, and the Washington Post, all of which said you did not provide the evidence that you claimed.
Not
But
only
the
do
other
I
thing
claim
is
it,
that
I stand
if
by it,
the
and
weapons
there's
had
ample
been there,
proof of it.
committed
And
a
the
war crime
difference
because
between
the
you
Geneva
and I
Convention.
is that I
Can you
was
let
on
me
the
finish,
ground.
please? I know
But
you
you-
guys
I don't even know what
voting
this
for
fool's doing on the
anti-Semitism.
debate.
Jonathan, I'll let you respond after she's finished.
I need to finish. Thank you very much. Okay. So you've been implicated in 2 war crimes. One is you defended Yoav Galant's starvation order on October 9th when you went on the Twitter Live and you defended it and you called them beasts. You called Palestinians beasts. The other thing is you lied about Al-Shifa Hospital. And what happened then? First of all, you lied. But second of all, I'm going to be charitable and say you didn't lie. Let's say everything you found, even though we know you edited the video and we know this because the BBC, Fox News, and Washington Post all said that. But even if the things that you had found had been there, it would have been a war crime. Why? Because in order to justify the exception to violating a hospital, you have to prove that it's an active terrorist center, which you didn't prove, even with the fake evidence you provided. The other thing is you have to use proportionality no matter what, or else it's a war crime. You absolutely did not use proportionality when you killed hundreds to thousands of people. You executed them. You turned off
Hundreds of thousands, did we?
Condemned them to
Where
death.
do you
Yeah,
get
hundreds
your
of
numbers
thousands.
from?
Executed.
Okay.
Where do you get your
All right,
numbers
Katie,
from? Which
then,
hundreds of
Katie,
thousands? You have
Why
no,
are people like you allowed to
Please
tell
don't
us?
talk over each
you don't
other.
even know what you're
Executed.
talking about.
Okay, here's what I'll do.
You
Katie,
don't even know what you're
Katie,
talking
hold
about.
fire.
Of course not. It's
Jonathan,
true, I wasn't there.
please
I
stop all
did
talking
war
over each
crimes,
other.
Jonathan, you did, so you probably
Katie,
know more than I do.
Katie,
Yeah.
Jonathan, I'll let Jonathan
Piers,
respond.
I'd like to respond
Hang on.
to these
I'll let
falsehoods.
Jonathan respond to the allegations that were made against you because that's fair. Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, it is just preposterous. I don't know what you base yourself on. I don't know where you get what you base your
BBC,
opinions
Washington
on, but I
Post,
can tell you
and Fox
unequivocally that you are so wrong you don't even have a clue. When you start by saying
I just need
genocide
resources.
as if it's a popcorn, as if it's a snack, and as if it's happening on the ground, you can say it 100
It is happening on the
times,
ground.
you can say it 1,000 times. That doesn't make it into reality.
Well, there is a case at the World Court, the highest court in the world. Israel is being investigated at the highest court in the world for what they call a plausible genocide.
Current
So it's not
investigation.
No, that's disgusting to say that. Do you have no respect for international law? That is a
Nobody
case.
can hear you guys.
Okay, but look, it's important that you don't.
Take your time to speak.
Okay,
Let somebody finish, then go in. Otherwise, nobody can hear.
It's offensive to the people, to the hundreds of thousands of people that have been killed in
You're
Gaza
offensive.
to
You're
call the term
offensive to
genocide
truth.
popcorn. There is a
You
case
are
at the World
offensive to
Court.
truth.
Put your hand down, Alan.
In the world.
Time out again. Listen, honestly, we get nowhere
Nobody
when
wants to hear
everyone
what you
just
have to
shouts.
say.
Alan, you've got your hand up, which just for the sheer fact you're asking politely, you can go.
But,
Oh my God,
Piers,
this is
I'd
a
like
joke.
to,
It's so
complete my
good.
response
I'll
to
come
it.
back to you,
Piers,
Jonathan.
it's
I
so
will.
good.
Everyone was shouting. There's no point. I'll come back to you then. Alan.
Piers, Piers.
Guys, we're going to leave it there, and you can watch the full debate on the Piers Morgan Uncensored show. Just to recap, let's start with Jonathan. I don't even know why he was on the debate. I don't even know why he was invited, and I don't understand why he even attends. He had nothing fruitful or anything of benefit to add to the debate. Matt and Katie, and I'm not saying this because I'm pro-Palestine, but I think their arguments were very, very good, and between them they put up a very strong argument for Palestine and against Israel. Alan, I think he was only there because he was promoting this book that he's apparently sending worldwide. Alan, he had nothing again to add to this debate. Piers, he almost sounded pro-Palestine in this debate. We've just got to be careful with Piers because although he sounds almost pro-Palestine in this debate, we know largely he's pro-Israel. So we just got to be careful of that. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.